Welcome to TRS Clips, where you'll find happiness through your own curiosity. I have a very dear friend of mine. Like, he's what you would call a chaddi buddy. His name is Zarwan Bansha. Okay. And he's a very intelligent guy, very well read. And we would debate on philosophy a lot. And throughout my 20s, I said no to parties, gave up non-veg, gave up alcohol. And he's also actually on the same path. He's also in his core a renunciant. So when we debate, he used to say one very interesting point. He said that if we're meant to not go towards pleasures, why do they exist in the first place? And I'd say, I don't know. But my idols, which were Joe Rogan, David Goggins, all these guys who celebrate discipline, they call themselves disciple of discipline. David Goggins says things like, you strengthen your mind by denying yourself occasionally. And denying yourself is a skill you need to teach children. When I was a kid and I took up martial arts for the first time, now it's become a part of my breath to think like a martial artist. But somewhere, it basically gives you discipline on some core level. Hey, ensure you make it to this weight category. Ensure you get the technique right. You are denying yourself of looseness. Best decision I made. My question is, on a very human level, I have benefited from denying myself of pleasures. Spiritual journey has gone further. Even when I don't want to meditate or pray, I'll force myself to meditate and pray. And then there's a positive outcome. But that process of denying yourself, it hurts a little bit on the inside, even today, after so much discipline and so much of strictness in the routine. Is the purpose of life, according to the Bhagavad Gita, to kind of create that internal discomfort just a little bit? Is that internal discomfort a good thing? And how do you know where to draw the line of that internal discomfort? Because in many ways, any form of discipline is like whipping yourself just a little bit. You want to eat that cake. You want to waste time. You want to chill and watch TV. Process of picking up the remote and switching off the TV, that hurts on the inside. So how do you know how far to take discipline? Or should you just make it an infinite trade? And I say that because the 31-year-old in me is trying to make my diet very boring. One, because the more boring food gets, the better the body looks, and I am in a cosmetics-based industry. But secondly, when you detach yourself from food, I feel like you teach your own brain detachment in order to detach yourself from pain as well. Let's talk about that internal strife.
You're right.
And do you also feel that?
Well, by Krishna's grace, I have been cooking in the kitchens in ISKON for many years. So I have already cooked almost 3.5 million meals. So I make a Thai curry for 10,000 people.
Wow.
So not the most austere of food, but I'm just saying that you asked a very fantastic question on the crossroads of transitioning from these desires to those desires where control goes into autopilot mode, where it just...
Yeah, you're hitting the kid inside you just a little bit.
Right. Technically, in Sanskrit, that word is known as tapa. Tapa. Tapa means tapasya. The word tapa means heat. Giving heat. Tap dena. So, tapa basically means giving some pain or heat to our mind and the senses. So, there is a verse in Gita where Krishna says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinah rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. So, the beautiful question which you just asked, the answer for that lies in this one shloka of Bhagavad Gita when we unpack it. So, Vishaya means objects. So, when we look at objects, people may think, I eat rice, I eat roti. The eyes eat form. The eyes are hungry for eating, devouring beautiful form. The eyes are hungry to avoid ugly forms. Like the food we eat, we try to avoid things which will not taste good. The ears are hungry to taste, sound which we find pleasing, like somebody glorifying me. Okay, I like that. Why? It is heartening, that sound. So all our senses are looking for Vishaya. Vishaya means objects.
Oof.
To eat. Eyes, ears, nose. Like that for the skin is looking for touch with another skin. That is a sex life. So therefore, this Pancha Indriya, the 5 senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin, they are looking for corresponding objects to interact with. And through that interaction, the expectation is it should generate pleasure. The tongue, when it comes in touch with rasgulla, pleasurable. Comes in touch with neem juice, is kadwa. I said, oh. So therefore, we have raga, which is pleasure, attachment, and dvesha, hate, avoidance. So acceptance and avoidance, raga, attachment, and dvesha, hate, they are concomitant. They are 2 sides of the same coin. So therefore, the whole idea of yoga or practice of spirituality is to rise above this raga and dvesha and understand that my daily interactions are not supposed to be obsessed about whether my eyes get pleasure or my tongue gets pleasure or my ears get pleasure. My meditation should be Ishwar. He should get pleasure. So therefore, automatically the narrative changes. So I see, oh, this is a beautiful dress. Previously, I think it will look so good on me. Now I start thinking it will look so good on Radha Gopinath, on Radha Madan Mohan, on Radha Govind. Oh, this food is so delicious. It will give me pleasure. Now I say, no. Hare, how I can offer it as bhoga so the Lord will enjoy. So the perspective changes. So that is what is known as Vishaya. Vishaya is there. Rasgulla is there. Gulab Jamun is there. Vinivartante. Rather than thinking, I will enjoy, I start thinking, how can I make this or cook this so that like Yashoda Mai was feeding Krishna and pleasing him, I want to please Krishna. It is called Vinivartante. So Nivartante. Vartante. Vartan means occupation. Nivartan means retirement. Seva nivritta ho gaye, we say. He has retired, voluntary retirement or permanent retirement. So nivartante means retirement. Retiring the engagement of the senses with the objects. Now, vinivartante means forcefully. V means visheshena nivartante, by force, applying pressure, and as you say, giving a little pain to make that sense retire from the engagement with the objects. Otherwise, the eyes are always engaged. Eyes are constantly employed, seeing the beautiful form of the opposite sex. So there is no retirement for the eyes for that. But vinivartante means we impose a retirement that no, don't just keep looking like this with lustful glances to try to enjoy. Retire from that and then look at objects which are purifying. So that is called Vishaya Vinivartante Niraharasya. Ahar. The objects are ahar for the senses. So you fast those senses. Start fasting the senses. When you fast for a week, you lose weight. When you fast your eyes from glancing at beautiful, objects for sexual pleasure, then gradually that tendency for lust within weakens. So your lust within loses weight. Kam vasna halki ho jati hai. Like that, niraharasya means that. So you deny giving those objects to the senses. Rasavarjam. So when that rasa is stopped, rasa varjam, varjit karo. Don't allow that ras, to that particular sense. So gradually when you do that, you have experienced when you do that rasavarjam with respect to your health. So you get health benefits. Like that, one gets spiritual benefits. Rasavarjam. Rasavarjam. Varjana, to stop, to prevent, to not allow those rasas. Rasopi asya. Even though taste is there, if given a chance, one would go and enjoy. One would love people to keep glorifying me and keep telling them, hey, speak about me, speak about me. One would love enjoying sex life with somebody even though it is not authorized, even though it is crossing the boundary of ethics. Rasopyasya, one may have the taste for that. But rasavarjam, I decide, no, I will not cross the boundary. Param drishtva. Param drishtva means from where that strength comes to say no, when you experience a higher pleasure. Param drishtva. Drishtva means seeing. When you see something higher, you are able to say no to the lower. Then, because of that, when people practice spirituality, that experience fills them so much. They are filled with spiritual ahar that they are able to say no to this other ahar. Param drishtva nivartate. They are actually able to retire the engagement of their senses from those sense objects. So therefore, the important word in this entire verse is rasopi asya. Us कार्य में रस है. Right? The diabetic has a taste for eating that sweet, but they are stopping. And now they have other alternatives. And sometimes when you start denying your tongue of sugar, over a period of time, fruits and other vegetables start appearing very sweet because you start regaining your natural taste. So when the natural taste is revived, then all these are automatically overcome. And therefore there was a great king called King his name is Yamunacharya, who was a king before. And as a king, he was engaged in all kinds of sense gratification, enjoyed thoroughly. Then when he becomes the great saint Yamunacharya, he writes in this verse where he says that I was engaged in indulging in all kinds of sex life before, but now after having experienced the sweetness, the sublime experience of spiritual life, of bhakti, of devotion to Ranganath Swami, even when I think of sex life, my lips curl in distaste and I spit at the thought. So therefore, it's a matter of reconditioning. Like many times when people, they take cigarette, youth, they take cigarette, first time they start coughing like anything. People take alcohol, they find it very, very bitter. They can't handle it. But over some time, with the kind of association they have, they get conditioned to those tastes. So that has to be reconditioned. And when you do the reconditioning, this becomes normal and that becomes abnormal. And I say, if somebody says, this is gulab jamun, is it sweet or not? Yes. Is it tasty or not? Yes. And I say, I am giving you this gulab jamun for 1 crore rupees. Want it? He says, no. Are you mad? Why should I take a gulab jamun for 1 crore rupees? So the Shastras are saying, your obsession with all these sense objects. Yes, sex life has pleasure. But in return for that pleasure, if the price tag is 1 crore for a gulab jamun, it's not worth it. So that's the whole idea, that nobody is saying there is no pleasure. Nobody is denying the pleasure. The pleasure is there. But we are looking at grades of pleasure and simultaneously analyzing concomitant pain one has to go through for the pleasure which one experiences. Because there are no free lunches in this world. For everything you do, you have to pay a tax. So as long as the pizza you're eating in the restaurant, you're enjoying, and then at the end what comes? Bill. So you have to pay the bill. So that's what life in this world is all about. So a combination of two things is important to help you transition peacefully. One is the experience of pleasure. And the second is the execution of your discrimination. So the experience of pleasure gives you the base inspiration that, oh, it is worth going in this direction. Then you have to execute your discrimination that, oh, Rasgulla is 1 crore. Okay, forget it. Although it looks attractive, you are tempted, but still the cost, discrimination, you're using discrimination. Is it worth it? Not worth it? Worth it? Not worth it? That discrimination with the intelligence helps the mind controlled from both sides.
How do you strengthen that execution?
Only one way: Sangha, association.
People around you.
Positive people who are doing that better than you. Just like if you want to upgrade your skills, what do?
I hang out with Gauranga Das Prabhu.
You hang out with other creators, you hang out with people who are kind of mentoring you in this space and stuff like that. So similarly, it is known as Sangha, that Srimad Bhagavad Arthanam Aswade Rasikai Saha Sajati Ashaye Snigdhe Sadhu Sangha Swatovare. Sadhu Sangha Swato, those who are better. And in that, the weakness which is known as Hriday Daurbalyam, weakness of the heart. Just like a wooden wall looks wooden, strong, but inside there is termite. You knock it, it falls. Similarly, nowadays, people are looking very strong, this, that, but inside the mind, because of lack of self-control, the lack of ability to say no to temptations, because of a habit of surrendering continuously to sense pleasures, they have become termite-ridden from within. Look strong from outside, but they will just collapse at just a little bit of touch, some little bit of change in direction of life, and they can't handle it. So I think the ability to overcome temptations, control the mind, and say no to pleasures is not just a choice, but I think it's the need of today's society to save the young generation from really losing control over their mind and their life.
You know, the best time to actually exercise that muscle of discipline, basically, when we're talking about execution of discrimination.
Yes.
Basically, the muscle of discipline again.
Absolutely.
Best time to do that is in childhood.
Yes.
Um,
Tell me about something which you are remembering from your childhood.
Honestly, I'm remembering my teenage and the first time I drank alcohol. First time I did other naughty things. Especially with intoxication, I wish I had not done it the first time. It would have been easier. But, you know, everyone's got their own individual journey. So I had to go through all that to tell people, you know, don't do it. And even my environment was like that, right from childhood. I'm not blaming my parents. It's a part of Punjabi culture to drink, like in modern day society. So I would see relatives drinking around me. I didn't have a full alcohol intoxicated experience as a kid, but I remember tasting it from someone's glass and it was extremely bitter and I hated it. And somewhere you're a teenager, you see friends doing it, you've already seen it at home a little bit, then you end up doing it, then you have that first great alcohol experience and then it becomes a thing. Before you know it, it becomes a problem. Like thank God I gave it up early, but again with children watching this, just now I truly believe I've become an uncle and I'll say don't do it the first time itself. Like whether it's drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, the easiest way to create discipline about those things is not to do it the first time.
And that's why Gita says discipline is fusion of intention with action. And I think, you know, your generation should think more deeper on how we can reintegrate dharmic principles in all our cultural expressions, like celebration of festivals, celebration of weddings, celebration of various kinds of, festivities in our own life, successes. Nowadays, because of the influence from the West, it seems like when people are, when they pass an exam, they celebrate with drinks. When they have a wedding, they celebrate with drinks. When they have to celebrate anything, that has become the norm.
Culture.
That has become the culture. So I would say that that's not the original Vedic Sanatan Dharma culture, tradition. And because of that, overall families are breaking apart, relationships are becoming very, very complicated. And my biggest fear is the binding factor. See, if the cement is there, but if you don't add water, the cement will just be powder, right? What binds the cement is the water. So what binds families together traditionally in India has been spirituality and dharma. And as that is becoming more and more disconnected, especially with a certain generation of ours, I see where systematic understanding was not given, and now they are not able to give to the next.
Yeah.
And there is a disconnect.
Yeah.
And that is something which is very worrying, that very soon the fabric of our society should not become something like in the West, where it is just transactional and not transformational.
Hey, if you enjoyed today's clip, make sure you check out all the other clips we've uploaded on this channel. You'll find a clip related to almost every single topic as long as you're willing to search for it.